back, everybody, to the Podecito podcast. I am your host for Reporting Time. Thank you for joining me as we journey episode by episode to our collective favorite show. Of course, I'm talking about the incomparable Las Vegas. We are here at episode 12 of season 2. Don't you know? This is one of my favorites. This is easily one of my favorites. If you don't know, you should know that the bonus episode of Rumble in the Montecito is available right now on Patreon as you're listening to this. It's a Patreon exclusive. We go over the ad with the Arena Football League invading the Montecito Casino and some insights that you may or may not have known about that one. So go to the Patreon and check that out if you can. In the meantime, we got When You Gotta Go, You Gotta Go. This episode aired January 3rd of 2005. So a little bit of background here on this one. This episode aired January 3rd, 2005, meaning that we had 3 weeks off of Las Vegas in between, or new episodes of Las Vegas. So the previous episode aired on the 6th of December, 2004. And the next week was repeat night. Basically, they did repeat night for the next 3 weeks. So on the 13th, what we got was 2 Las Vegas episodes instead of just 1, but they were repeats. So on the 13th of December 2004, they aired Blood is Thicker, the one that I can never get the name of right, and followed immediately by Catch of the Day. So from 9 to 11, you got Las Vegas. So you got 2 more hours of Las Vegas the next week when they aired both Alec Baldwin episodes, Hellraisers and Heartbreakers, and they got away with it. Good repeat scheduling there, NBC. And then they did it again the next week, December 27th, when we got the Crossing Jordan episode, What Happens in Vegas Dies in Boston, and then the Las Vegas episode, Two of a Kind. So very ingenious scheduling there by the folks at NBC. If they decided they were going to do repeats, they did it right. Good for them. So this episode has an IMDb rating of 7.8 out of 10, giving it a C+ from IMDb. From LasVegas-theseries.com, you should go and support them, because the only way you can access that is by the Wayback Machine, and the Wayback Machine is doing the Lord's work. So if you can, chip a buck over to the Wayback Machine for all the work that they do in chronicling the internet, so that we can go back and review it and see it and have a history of it. On LasVegas-theseries.com, their rating was 4.5 chips out of 5, meaning they gave it an A- grade, and the aggregate rating between the two of those sources is an 8.4 out of 10, or a B rating. My rating is much higher than that. My rating is much higher than both of them. We will get into that when we get into that. This is one of my favorite episodes. I told you this is one of my favorite episodes, and we will explore why here in a second. This episode was written by Matt Peiken and directed by Brian Spicer. Brian Spicer, he's done quite a few things in his directing career. His directorial debut is in an episode of Booker in 1990. Booker was a spinoff of 21 Jump Street. So he's got that to start with. Followed by 21 episodes of Parker Lewis Can't Lose, one of my favorite shows of all time. As well as he did an episode of Freedom with Darius McCrary from Family Matters. But more importantly, Bodie Elfman, former guest star of Las Vegas, starred in that show. And he directed an episode of that. He also directed Clubhouse, which was the baseball TV show starring recurring cast member, I'm going to call him recurring cast member, Dean Cain, future recurring cast member Dean Cain. He starred in Clubhouse, and our boy Mr. Spicer directed him in that. Now, Spicer, before he got to Las Vegas, he strayed from the path. You see, he directed Rob Lowe, Joey Pants, Tom Sizemore, and Sarah Lancaster in Dr. Vegas, which was not... If you're going to do a Vegas show, it has to be Las Vegas. The other ones, you're okay. Maybe he couldn't get in yet. But in 2005, he did. He did this episode of Las Vegas. He directed this episode. This is the one episode that he directed for our show. Up until then, there's not really much to... Other than Parker Lewis. I would say maybe Parker Lewis. But Parker Lewis was more of a surreal show. There wasn't much on his directing resume to suggest that he's, has the the chops for a Las Vegas episode, but he does a great. But the one he did, man, the one he did. Oh my gosh. A year later, he does CSI, keeping with the Vegas theme. And a couple of years later, our boy directs 2 episodes of Knight Rider. GST's Knight Rider. Yes, he does. He does 2 full episodes of that show. He also directs 1 episode of Heroes, which is also in the Las Vegas universe. And the last thing that you could see that he directed was 14 episodes of Magpie, the new Magna PI. Yeah, he does. And good for them for getting this director, because the way he does this episode is phenomenal. We will get to that. So we start off by whooshing through the Las Vegas Strip, the skyline there. What a beautiful sight that used to be. And as we are doing so, we hear the first musical cue of the episode. So if you're watching on the original version, hey, Surreal, do you have the original version? No, I don't have the original version. But if you have the original version, what you're listening to is Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran. Yes, you're listening to Duran Duran, the original version of Duran Duran. Yes, on the original and the DVD version of this episode. Let's talk about Duran Duran. I'm not going to go into all of Duran Duran's accomplishments musically. You should find out for yourself. They're an amazing English new wave and synth pop band formed in '78, and they were some of the leaders of the new wave movement of the 80s. Their album Rio in '82 is often cited as one of the definitive pop albums of the 80s. Yes, of course. The group took their name from the character Durand in Barbarella in 1968, played by actor Milo O'Shea. They ranked number 20 in VH1's 100 Sexiest Artists. I mean, come on, her name is Rio, And they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2022, deservedly so. Duran Duran's amazing. They are guest stars of this episode and integral parts of this episode too. And I like how this episode does what the last episode didn't do all that well. First off, they bring the band, they license a couple of their songs, bring the band in, they're featured on the show. Well done. Now, Duran Duran doesn't have speaking parts the way Brooks and Dunn did, in Hellraisers and Heartbreakers that made them so great. By the way, happy recent birthday to Ronnie Dunn. But they are integral parts here, and you can feel their presence throughout the whole episode. So Hungry Like the Wolf plays on the original or the DVD version of the show. Streaming services, though, NBC Universal, you cheap bastards, they didn't license Duran Duran, all the Duran Duran songs throughout the episode. They didn't. So if you're watching on the streaming services, you're going to hear a song called You're Something New by Lee Richardson and James Cocozza, Cocozza. It's a fine song. It's a good, newer song that sounds like an 80s new wave song, but it's not Hungry Like the Wolf. And again, you got it already, and you will hear other Duran Duran songs if you're watching on streaming services, but they decide not to license Hungry Like the freaking Wolf. Anyway, I digress. We whoosh down and we see a sign advertising Duran Duran in front of the Montecito for one great show that they're doing. I think the way they lay it out, they're gonna do more than one great show, though. If you ask me, but we'll get to that when we get to that. We whoosh in and we see the 2 lucky rings held by a couple at the blackjack table. They then kiss the rings and continue to play. The guy has stacks of chips right in front of him. He gets an ace, and he then gets dealt the other half for the true blackjack. Sam walks up, says that he just won his 7th straight hand. We hear that this guy's name is Billy Murphy, and he is on quite the lucky streak with his ring and his hot girl there by his side. And Sam asks if they set a date yet, and The girl says that she's working on it. Let's talk about this couple because they will be an intricate part of the show. Get this IMDb part out of the way. The woman's name is Abby. She's played by an actress named Aja Evans. Aja Evans does not have the longest IMDb, but she does have a few that you will probably stand out. This is her first credited role in IMDb, actually, this episode of Las Vegas. She then goes on to do some episodes of Nip Tuck, Boston Legal. She does 2 episodes of 2.5 Men, might be the most prominent thing that you remember seeing her in, if you remember seeing her. She was also in The Dark Knight Rises as greeter at the museum in 2012. The latest thing you can see her in is Sneakerheads as Gia for 3 episodes. That's Aja Evans. Her loving fiance there is played by an actor named David Lee Russick. David Lee also doesn't have the longest IMDb, but he does have a few substantial stuff. Here he's playing a character named Billy. His first credited role was in Guiding Light as Christos. Because Las Vegas loves its soap stars. He then moved on to the most steady thing that he got after that was a show called Catwalk. This comes up again. I've heard Catwalk before, which again leads me to believe the casting director for this show did, really just kind of came from their catalog and looked up actors that they had. But he played Frank Kalfa for 24 episodes of that. He then moves on to Another World, where he plays Chip Rayburn for 25 episodes. Las Vegas loves its soap stars. So much so, he moves on after that to do 7 episodes of The Young and the Restless as Sean Bridges. He also then continues the Monk to Las Vegas, Vegas to Monk pipeline, where he plays Trevor in 2004 for an episode. Then immediately does this as Billy in 2005. Then moves on to another connected show with Las Vegas, Passions, where he plays Payne for 2 episodes. Again, Las Vegas loves soap stars. Now, obviously, Billy and Payne are 2 different people, but he's in the same universe, so I wonder. It is a soap opera. He could have an evil twin out there somewhere. Fast forward, he co-stars alongside future cast member Tom Selleck in Blue Bloods for an episode as Jimmy Costello. The latest things you could see him in are FBI, where he played Lieutenant Danny Watts for an episode alongside Jeremy Sisto, and former guest star Alana de la Garza. Oh, just the name rolling off her tongue is amazing. For an episode, and the latest thing you can see him in is something called The Path, where he played Alistair McLaughlin in 2024, and he's got something in post-production called The Interview. That's a short that's due to come out pretty soon. So with The Young and the Restless, he replaced Christopher Douglas as Sean Bridges on The Young and the Restless after Douglas was fired due to a power struggle with the head writer, and the executive producer. So he basically was kind of a scab. The show said, the actor said, you can't do without me, and the show said, oh yes we can, and see, that kind of leads credence to maybe he's got an evil twin in Passions, or maybe, you know what I mean, that leads that nebulous, the different actor, different character, same actor, soap opera nonsense. Yeah, see, I don't see, I'm just making that up. So as Sam leaves her whales, we whoosh over to another I Heart Duran Duran weekend sign. And it's why I Heart Duran Duran weekend. They're only doing 1 show, but okay, I'm not the marketing genius behind that one. So the rest of the crew are in Belisara, and they're talking about I Heart.
Right. What's with this whole I Heart thing?
Which is the natural progression of the whole I love thing.
Which really came from the I Love the 80s series that VH1 did. I love the 80s, I love the 70s, I love the 90s. I think they even tried to do an I Love the 2000s, that not that far from the 2000s. And then that expanded into the Best Week Ever shows that VH1 did. So they were very successful. And I remember I loved them. I loved those. I binged watched those so much. I love them. Now looking back on them, there's a lot of stuff they don't really talk about stuff. This is very cursory. But I do remember watching those weekends. I remember even when they replayed them, I remember loving sitting down and watching those I Love the 80s, especially the 80s. I remember watching and loving the I Love the 80s episodes. But So I was the target demo for that. You can find some of them on YouTube still. They're not, but looking back on them, especially now with like long form video essays and people talking about different subjects differently, and looking, getting more in depth with actually having details. Looking back on the I Love the 80s TV shows that they did back then, a lot of the times they just sat a celebrity down and had them just kind of say, Slinky, I remember Slinky, and that passed for talking about Slinky. Like you didn't learn anything if you didn't already know it, and even if you did know it, you can kind of tell looking back on it that some of the people didn't really know what they were talking about, and or they didn't spend a lot of time on it. But it was cotton candy. It was cotton candy, and it was very popular at the time. So I get it. Nessa says that...
Well, I think it's cheesy and it bugs the hell out of me.
Which is exactly why we're going to keep saying it.
Right. Like, I heart a big butt.
Yeah, I heart another drink.
I heard it too. It's cute.
Yeah, Danny looks a little tipsy. And Nessa changes the subject to Duran Duran and the history with dairy. Ooh, don't forget, I love it when the show does this. When the show remembers characteristics of its characters and comes back to them. It remembers plot points like this and comes back to them. The Duran Duran stuff have been floating around with Danny and Mary for a while. We've heard it a couple different times, including didn't they talked about it when did they talk about it? I think it was the not the opening episode of the season. It was one of they were by the pool. It might have been the opening of Bella Petto. It was, I can't remember. I can't exactly remember. But they were by the last one of the season. I can't remember. Or the Everlast concert. But they were talking about it, and it came up. And I like when they remember stuff like that. It fits with the show. And so the other crew are asking about details of it. But Danny and Mary are very tight-lipped and are not going to talk about it. Danny,
I'd heart to hear all about it.
I'd like to hear all about it. Hello, boy.
I like that. That's very good, Danny. Busting Nessa's chops a little bit. Ed comes in and they got him doing the old man thing again, where he doesn't exactly know what the terminology is.
Good night. You guys all set for Divine?
Duran Duran. Yeah.
Oh, I knew there was no last name.
Divine versus Duran Duran. Ed was alive in the 80s. He had heard who Duran Duran was. Stop it. Ed was alive in the 80s. He had a daughter who was of age in the 80s to know what Duran Duran was. He had heard of Duran Duran. He knew that wasn't Divine. But okay. So as Ed is preparing to leave, he runs across, or he sees a guy sitting at Belisara drinking a beer, and that guy is played by Sylvester freaking Stallone. And we hear that his character's name is Frank the Repairman. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about Sly Stallone because we're actually going to see him a bit later. He's going to be a recurring character, so we can talk about Sly when he comes back for that other episode. But Ed is going to try to avoid him. He says he's late for a Steve Wynn thing, but to comp the repairman and tell him that he'll be right back. Remember, I'll be right back. But he's still trying to avoid the repairman here. And as he leaves, the crew says,
Hey, Ed, we heart you.
What's that?
We heart you.
And so Ed then takes off. Oh, yeah, and I forgot with the I Heart thing. That then morphed also into like a movie, I Heart Huckabees, or I Heart Huckabee. And then that morphed into I Heart Radio. Like, they then took that that's how they're going to brand their radio stations. And like, it's still around. You know, I Heart Radio is still around. Okay, I guess. Like somebody, it must have struck a chord with somebody. But Ed hops into his Hummer, and as he does, he is immediately met with a gun to the side of the head.
breathe wrong, and you're dead.
And Ed sees what he's looking at. We get a nice Dutch angle, and then we go immediately to the intro. Now, that's how you strike some suspense. I like that start because first off, we got to see the characters, we got to interact with the characters, even if you don't necessarily know the character. You should by now if you've been watching all those repeats for 3 weeks. You get to feel comfortable with these guys, including Ed. You like them all, including Ed. And then you get the suspenseful end before you get to the intro where Ed sees the gun. You see him looking at the gun. You wonder what he's going to do or what's going to happen to him. And then we smash cut to the intro. That's very well done. Also, this intro is very well done. And if you're watching on a streaming service, a lot of times the streaming service will ask you if you want to skip the intro. I would heart it if you skip that streaming service. Skip the streaming service. Don't you dare tell me to skip the intro to Las Vegas. That's the best damn intro in the business. The nerve of you, Dennis. Anyway, as we come out of the intro, we see Ed's stuff being rifled through in what looks like a sink. It's a glass, clear glass sink. It almost looks like a bowl, though. And we see his stuff being rifled through, including his watch and his cell phone. Whoever the kidnapper is then takes some water from the toilet next to Ed, who's laying in the tub handcuffed. So apparently we're in a bathroom somewhere. Looks very stripped down. The kidnapper then scrolls down to see Danny's number. And Ed tries to reason with him, tell him that this isn't the way to go about it. And the kidnapper comments on Ed's Palante watch. Says how that's supposed to keep good time and how good a watch it is. It seems like a good watch. I looked it up, and there's one watch in particular. There's one Palante watch I saw that is actually very striking. I kind of want it, but
Palante, these keep pretty good time. Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Hey, look, I
got a swatch.
You know, especially after Parker Lewis Can't Lose, where the guys would synchronize their swatches. That stuck with me forever.
Hey, look, man. See with the company.
Company? I haven't worked in 3 years. I just want what I'm owed. Nothing more.
Keep that in mind. He hasn't worked in 3 years. That's going to keep coming up again. But the guy says that Ed owes him something. And Ed says he doesn't know who the hell he is. And the guy then shows his face to Ed, who then says,
What the hell? It's not going to matter anyway.
Yes, so?
So? You fired me.
Fired you? I just told you. I have no idea who the hell you are.
You run the place. I hold you responsible.
So we can kind of see where this guy is coming from. He's got a personal vendetta against Ed, who doesn't even necessarily know who he is. We've seen takes like this in media before, like Thanos, where you took everything from me. I don't even know who you are. M. Bison with Chun-Li. I wrecked your village to me. It was Tuesday. And you could see where that dichotomy would come from, where, somebody in a position of power makes a decision, makes a move that deeply affects somebody that he never knows or maybe never even met, certainly doesn't recognize. It's out of the ordinary for Ed, because we've seen how Ed knows the names of his employees. Some of the lower level employees of quote unquote lower level employees of the Montecito, he just knows them. You should know that if you run the company. You should know who people are. That way you can, have some sort of connection with them and make them feel welcome and wanted in your company. But here, Ed doesn't even know this guy's face at all. But we know this guy's face. We've seen it a whole lot. The actor's name is Michael Cudlitz. You've seen him a whole bunch before. His first credited role was in Crystal Ball, which was a short. He played Scotty. And after that, he played Dennis Richards in an episode of 21 Jump Street alongside future guest stars, the DeLuise boys. He then played Chuck Steak for 2 episodes of Growing Pains. He then was Jimbo in The Liars Club alongside Soleil Moon Frye. 90s kids might know him as Cole from D3 The Mighty Ducks. I know, right? He got one of his bigger breaks in 2001 where he was Denver Bull Randleman for 9 episodes in the miniseries Band of Brothers alongside Scott Grimes and Ron Livingston. He then does an episode of Family Law alongside future Las Vegas guest star Christopher McDonald. Family Law keeps coming up. He stays in Nevada for a little bit. He does Push Nevada in 2002 as Special Agent Derek Smith. He then does this episode of Las Vegas as the kidnapper. We will later find out his name is Brian Carlton Venturi. He apparently didn't change his nefarious ways because in 2009 for an episode, he guest starred in Knight Rider. That's right, Knight Rider. He was also in a movie called Satin in 2011 with Robert Guillaume and Melissa Joan Hart, which is interesting to me because that is a pairing I would not think of at all. So now I got to find that movie. He got a bigger break, more steady role as Officer John Cooper in 43 episodes of Southland, which was an amazing show. And I remember his character in that show. I think that was probably the first time I really recognized him. Yeah, he then, not long after that, about a year later, he goes on to The Walking Dead to play Abraham Ford for 39 episodes. He was there when I stopped to not like Walking Dead anymore. And matter of fact, it was his storyline because he was followed by this one goofy idiot with a mullet who just blatantly looks like there's nothing about him that made him seem intelligent at all, which would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that the crew that Abraham was walking with and teaming up with the Rick Grimes crew, their whole thing was they were going to the CDC because this guy was a biologist who knew how to fix the virus and all he needed to do was get to the CDC in Atlanta. He was an idiot. There's no way no. No, he didn't. This guy was a dullard, and it pissed me off every time that they came back to that story. I'm like, how does no one in this universe just look at this guy and know that he's lying? What? Like, he's a moron. And he kept getting people in trouble because he was a moron. Walking Dead fans know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he then co-stars for an episode as Edge.
You think you know me?
No, not that Edge. Just as Edge in 2002 alongside former guest star Mimi Rogers in Bosch Legacy. The latest things you can see him in is The Old Breed in 2025. That's a short. He plays Frank Calloway. But more steadily, he has done so far at least 12 episodes of Superman and Lois as Lex Luthor. Now, him as Lex Luthor is an interesting casting choice. But that's Michael Cudlitz. He had a tendency of playing cops or criminals. Like, those are the two. And that's come up a couple times, too, with some of these actors. They either play cops or criminals, which I've said before, very often come from the same line of person in real life. So that makes sense. So our boy Brian holds Ed personally responsible for his loss of a job, even though Ed probably didn't know what was happening. He then strikes back at Ed.
You're a wacko, man.
Shut up! I just want what I'm owed.
You listen to me, you ugly-ass punk. You make sure you kill me. You hear me? Because if you don't, I swear to God on my mother, I'll kill you.
But we hear there that Brian just wants what he's owed. He just wants what he's owed, and we're going to hear that theory come through a couple of times. Let's let the dealer shuffle the deck for a second, and we'll be right back.
I assume you're interested in large amounts of money.
It's Vegas, who isn't?
If you like the podcast and you want to help support it, you can buy me a coffee, send a cash app, or join our coffee, KO-FI, and or Patreon. Just search The Podecito on all those platforms. So our boy Billy is still winning at the blackjack table as we cut back over. Sam comes back to check on them, and as she does, we hear that they want to get married. and they apparently want to get married right now.
Well, we want to get married now.
It's 3 a.m.
It is. And when I get back from the ladies' room, I expect there to be a car out front.
Wow. A lot of moxie in that girl.
And so we hear the story about the rings. Those rings are Irish claddagh rings. There is a bit of a history with these rings. It features 3 primary things on the ring, usually. A heart to represent love, a crown to represent loyalty, and 2 clasped hands to symbolize friendship. And they can be wedding rings, they can be engagement rings. The way the hearts are pointed on the finger and which hand they're in can symbolize a whole bunch of different things. They originated in the 17th century in Claddagh, County Galway in Ireland, and in its modern form was first produced in the 17th century. And there's a whole history with these rings, some modern usages, etc. So these rings are very lucky, according to our boy Billy, and he wants to see what they can do to get them married, since that's what Abby wants. Because Abby says if they're not married now, she's going to throw hers in the Bellagio fountain. So Sam tells Billy what it's going to take to get the marriage started. Apparently, they need to get a marriage license, obviously, in Vegas, and that's going to cost $55 to get that done. That $55 in today's money translates to $90.34. But if you get a marriage license in Las Vegas today, it actually only costs $85. So technically, accounting for inflation, the price of a marriage license technically has gone down. So that's the difference there, technically. By a little bit. Sam says that she can get it taken care of for them. It's open 24 hours. She knows the clerk there, and then get it done and get them back to the tables by sunrise. We then go to Danny's apartment or house. This is the first time we've ever actually seen Danny's place. He's asleep. It's 3:55, at least as his alarm clock says. Now, there are a couple of different continuity errors in this, and I'm not going to hold that against this episode, though, at least not much. The first continuity error is correct. When Danny gets this call that he's getting right now in this scene, the clock says 3:55. The next time we see the clock, it says 3:56, and then the time after that we see the clock, it goes back to 3:55, which is, probably one of the detriments to working with a digital clock. On a show like this, that continuity. But so Danny's dead asleep. He receives a call from Ed, and as he's picking up the call, he hears the kidnapper Brian say that he's holding Ed hostage in non-negotiable terms. Danny doesn't know if it's a joke or what it is, but he has to take it seriously because he's told that if he fails to follow the instructions, Ed will die. Danny immediately says he wants to talk to Ed, which is good, but nada. He then calls Ed back, and it immediately goes to voicemail. So Danny is asking, that's not going to be the first time he asks, or the last time he asks for Ed, but it leaves him with nothing. So Sam comes out of the license bureau with the marriage license for Abby and Billy, and they want to get married right now. They're looking for justice of the peace or something. And Sam leads them to let them know that there's no priests or justice of the peace or anything.
So who's going to marry us?
Well, the only rules are that you have to get married in the state of Nevada within a year of the issuance of the marriage license. So anybody who's authorized to perform ceremonies.
Where do we find said person?
Would you like to walk the gauntlet?
As the happy couple walk down the strip, or the gauntlet, we hear a song called 50s Guitar 3 by Alan Paul E-T-T, and James Lurn, L-U-R-N, on all incarnations of this episode, which is that one they were able to license. Oh, yeah. Anyway, we see all these celebrity impersonators, a halfway decent Michael impersonator, and they're met immediately with a Madonna impersonator who says that she can give them a free Kabbalah bracelet of $300 value with every ceremony. She's not a terrible looking Madonna impersonator, actually. That quote unquote $300 value equates to a $492 $1.77 value today, but that bracelet is not worth $300. That is a cheap bracelet on some plastic. It's not a $300 value. But okay, sure. The couple are charmed by the gauntlet of impersonators. We see one big Elvis let them know that they should get married at his chapel.
Wise men say only fools don't get married at the Moonlight Fantasy Chapel. Only $399.
That $399 today equates to $655.39. That actor is going to be important, so let's talk about the big Elvis. Bigger Elvis there is played by an actor named Joel McCrary, not to be confused with Darius McCrary. Joel McCrary started his acting career with an episode of Growing Pains as passenger on plane. That was uncredited, though. So his first credited role was in Clarissa Explains It All as the hot dog man in 1992 for an episode. He then does an episode of Malibu CA, which is a show I don't see brought up on these a lot. Malibu CA was a first-run syndicated show in the same vein of really California Dreams, more than Saved by the Bell. Done by Peter Engel, too. Lower budget. It was one of the later ones that he did. He might have seen the writing on the wall that TNBC was ending and decided to do a different version of that show. I like that show, actually. I like that show. That came on a local syndicated channel here in LA. I like that show a lot. You can find some episodes online. They had a great theme song, too. Anyway, more prominently, he was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, as Uncle Randy Zelinsky for 3 episodes. He also then does this episode of Las Vegas. His character's name is Marty. And most recently, you can see him in Dwight in Shining Armor as Baldric for 49 episodes. And the most recent thing you can see him in or hear him in is Disney Speedstorm, the video game, as Baloo. Now, he is perfect for this role because this role is over the top and it works with this actor in it. His IMDb is full of kid shows. I told you he started in Clarissa Explains It All. That's true. And he goes on and does a whole lot of wackier, goofier characters on those type of kid sitcoms. Kenan and Kel, or wackier sitcoms, Third Rock from the Sun. He plays those roles pretty well. And later in his career, he got on board the Disney train and did a lot of stuff with them, a lot of their Disney Channel shows. He guest starred in a whole bunch. He plays Baloo in a lot of the Disney video games. He plays a lot of different characters with those video games. So he found his niche in his later career as we're continuing this. Or he's continuing his later career. He was in the Smurfs. He was in a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of video games. He fits this role perfectly. So as Marty is trying to sell the couple his services, he's interrupted by a smaller jumpsuit Elvis who comes in and offers them
Sunrise Special, $279.
That $279 in today's money translates to $458.26. And the couple takes in the sights and are excited about it and happy to join in the kitsch. And they decide to go with the king, and AKA Elvis, the big Elvis. And the little girl pipes up. Little Elvis pipes up. She's not happy about it.
What are you doing, Marty? They're mine.
You heard the lady. She said she wants the king.
What am I, huh? Fried peanut butter and banana sandwich?
Sweetie, take it easy, all right?
I like the lady king. She's got a better deal.
Okay, he likes you. Let's go. See?
But hey, you undercut me for the last time, Charlene.
Shut up, Marty.
You shut up.
Right this way.
Charlene is an actress that you've probably seen, and if you haven't seen her, your kid's probably seen her. That actress's name is Lee Allen Baker. Lee Allen Baker has quite the extensive IMDb resume herself. She started as Roxy Gaines in Misfits. She then did 2 episodes. Bold and the Beautiful, that's right. She did 2 episodes of that. She played a stewardess for those 2 episodes. Why? Because Las Vegas loves its soap opera stars, don't you know? She then goes on to do 5 episodes of Charmed, which is probably the first thing that people recognize her from. She plays Hannah Webster for those 5 episodes. In that role, she was the antagonist, and she was initially introduced as a new co-worker for Shannon Doherty's witch character, Prue. But Hannah was always hostile to her, And she was soon revealed to be a magic user herself. And her main powers were thermokinesis, the ability to create heat, and shape-shifting into a Black Panther. So Hannah was working for the underworld against the Three and aimed to kill Prue and her sisters. She was eventually defeated by the sisters, manipulated and killing her own lover, and then killed by an unseen foe. Hannah was the first female enemy introduced in the series and among the earliest recurring villains which the protagonists faced. So she's got a couple of those kinds of roles, and we'll get to those in a second. She then played in Family Law again, came up again, just like another co-star, and look at that, and how that seems to happen with I think the casting directors here. She did that for an episode. She then did an episode of That 70s Show as Officer Debbie. The Officer Debbie character was important because she was so young and attractive in that show, according to Kelso, that's what made Kelso want to become a cop and facilitated the exit of Michael Kelso's from That 70s Show, right? Because Ashton Kutcher wanted to leave. So her character on that show looked so good in her outfit that it made Kelso want to become a cop, which was an important asset to that character to get rid of him. She then does this episode of Las Vegas as Charlene. She does Boston Legal. She then goes on to do 21 episodes of Will and Grace. That's where you might recognize her from as well. She played Ellen on Will and Grace, a close friend of Grace, played by Deborah Messing, since their college years. And they regularly had her on the show a lot, again, for the 21 episodes. They would argue a lot and always managed to reconcile at the end. And eventually she ended up appearing in almost every season of the show. She was at least that important to it. Where your kids might recognize her most from, and maybe you as well, Good Luck Charlie, where she played Amy Duncan and Jamie Blankenhooper. When she was 9 months pregnant with her son when she auditioned for the role, and that pregnancy was then written in to Good Luck Charlie. She was also in the last weeks of her pregnancy when she filmed a third season episode of Hannah Montana, and that pregnancy was also written into that show too. That's where you might really recognize her from, at least her kids. And she, along with Joel, also kind of started doing that Disney pipeline at the same time. She was in 7D alongside Billy West, Kelly Osbourne, and a couple of Maurice LaMaroche, and some others for 44 episodes, where she played the voice of Queen Delightful and Snazzy Shazam. And the latest thing you can see her in is Adventures of Iggy and Mr. Kirk in 2025 as Maple Creative Lee. So very much like her co-star Joel, she did a lot of stuff that was very expressive. Sitcoms and kid shows, kids sitcoms, cartoon work, stuff like that. And you can tell that she's got that expressiveness and it works for this character that she's playing here. Also, her eyes. She's got giant expressive eyes, and they work with this character. We'll see that in a little bit. We come back to something a bit more serious, though, as the Kings meet in Ed's office in surveillance. Nobody else knows. It's more of a clandestine thing, and Mike is on the computer trying to figure out exactly what information they can have on him, where the cell phone coverage is coming from. They ask if it's a CIA thing.
No. If the CIA is going to kidnap somebody, the sure's not going to call and say they did.
You don't think he's testing us, do you?
No. Look, the call came from Ed's cell phone, right?
And they think about it. They think about it for a long while, and that's a fair point. Because Ed's tested Danny before with Mike's help, in fact. Now, what Ed tested with wasn't as serious. Ed tested with some pranks in the casino and a monkey's paw stealing, right? He didn't test something like this. And that's maybe too serious a thing to test. So Danny pushes that out of his mind. Mike wonders if it may be a grift, that somebody took Ed's phone and is trying to get a little bit of something from it. Some money from it, which isn't out of the ordinary, because that actually happened to me, or started to try to happen to me. I lost my cell phone at one point, and they called the last number in it, which was my friend, one of my best friends, Kyle, and they called him and said that they had my cell phone. It probably fell out of my pocket or something while I was on the train. And they were like, oh, we can get your cell phone back for a certain amount of money. They tried to grift him for the money to get the cell phone back. And Kyle played it cool. I wasn't there. Kyle played it cool. He just snatched it back from him and ran. He got the cell phone back. But yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Danny tosses that out of his head as well. But Mike is able to track where the call came from. Danny is a little bit worried, and he's saying he wonders if he should call Jillian. Doesn't know if he wants to freak her out, but calls the home number.
Do we want to freak Jillian out? Screw it, I'm calling his home number.
Hi, you've reached the lines. Jillian's in New York. It's Tuesday, and I'm wherever I am.
That's them getting Jillian out of the way. Again, that's one of the things about having a recurring character like Jillian is that sometimes for episodes, you kind of have to have them do something else. You kind of have to have them, at a peace conference on the other side of the world. You know what I mean? Like Jillian seems to be doing a lot of traveling to New York in some of these episodes. So you have to do away with that. But as the guys are looking on the computer screen, we again see the picture of Delinda and Nessa on Ed's desk, and they're tracking the call to pinpoint of where the call originated from, which is the parking lot area at the airport. So the guys are about to head off there. As they do, our boy Brian comes back in, and he's got Ed's cell phone, takes out the battery, and the back of the days when you could take out a cell phone battery, kids, you remember that? Those were the days. You could take out the battery because of it, you can replace the battery. Now, if the battery goes dead, you have to basically buy a new phone. They got you by the balls. Anyway, we hear that Brian was putting the plan in motion, and Ed is coming up with an idea to try to get himself out of this situation. Comes up with the ruse. He says he's got to use the bathroom, and he needs Brian to kind of uncuff him so that he can get into position. And Brian then looks at Ed's arm and says,
See, I heard about your whole Delta Force, CIA.
And Ed, he's too close to Ed, so Ed grabs him and starts choking him. Ed is knocked out again, which can't be a good thing for Ed. So the boys talk about kidnapping and the kidnapping plans as they go to Danny's car.
Come on, man. You asked Ed about kidnapping before.
Happens a lot in this town, Mikey. You know that. Vegas is full of high-profile people with ready access to untraceable cash.
So what are we supposed to do?
Ed told me specifically, never pay a ransom, never call the cops.
Why?
Well, because once the kidnapper gets the money, why take the chance you could identify him? Safer for him to kill you than it is to let you go.
So the boys come to Ed's Hummer's position at the airport parking lot, and as they do, we see another goof here, and this one's true as well. When the guys come to the Hummer, Mike leaves his door open. When they walk back to it, the door is closed. That is another goof that was caught. That is true. So as they come to the Hummer and they look into the driver's side, they see a watch. It's probably Ed's watch. And the note says, check your email, TikTok. And the guys take back off. We then do a tonal switch as we come back to the lucky couple trying to get married with the little Elvis at her chapel. And as we do, if you're watching on the DVD version, you hear a production song with lyrics, something along the lines of like, tell me you'll be mine, something like that. Sort of in the style of Hopelessly Devoted to You by Olivia Newton-John. On the original and streaming service version, though, they actually paid the rights to Perry Como for his song, And I Love You. is what you hear there. So we're at the chapel. Sam is forever on her phone, even as she's sitting there watching the wedding. And we see Lee Allen. We see Charlene go into her histrionics, trying to do the Elvis thing. And we see Billy is trying to get this thing done very quickly.
I need that ring back on my finger. Can she please cut to the chase?
Really? Shh, sweetie, chop. Okay, sure. Okay, sure thing.
So as Charlene is about to get back into the wedding, Marty Elvis comes in with a couple of goons. And Sam is trying to hurry the service along because Marty's coming in to crash it. Because remember, he said that she undercut him for the last time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, bring it on, Marty.
Let's shake, rattle, and roll, boys.
Marty tosses the rings aside, and we get one of the funniest fight scenes I've ever seen. Now, in this fight scene, though, here's the problem in this fight scene, though. You do see some camera crew. Around the time where Marty picks up Charlene and spins her around, you do see the camera crew over on the side. But the fight is still hilarious. And Sam rushes the couple. Sam rushes the couple out of the chapel. That's all you can do in that situation. It's a house of cards in there. By God, it's broken down. And so we go back to the Kings and Ed's office, and they're trying to figure stuff out. Specifically, why $213,000? So we see the ransom note in the email from an unknown sender. Subject, what I'm owed. I want $213,000. It's what I'm owed. You will receive the location of the drop later. Make no mistake. If you contact law enforcement of any kind, Ed DeLine is a dead man. There's a hangman noose underneath it. And they can't figure out $213,000.
$213K? Who the hell is this guy, Dr. Evil?
It's what I'm owed. You will receive the... That's not spelled right.
What?
I before E except after C.
So he misspelled receive, so what?
He misspelled receive. That is going to come back later. That's part of it that comes into, I guess, the sort of profile of our guy Brian here.
Make no mistake. If you contact law enforcement of any kind, Ed DeLine is a dead man.
Well, he spelled dead right.
So we come back from commercial, and the guys are trying to figure out why $213,000. They think maybe that $213,000, somebody may have lost it, that specific amount at the casino. That $213,000 in today's money equals $349,868.59 that Brian believes that he's owed. So as the boys are trying to figure out some stuff, Delinda pops her head in, and they then move the screen, and she said,
Are you looking at porn?
Yeah.
Cool. Let me see.
No, Linda's probably not for you.
All right. Just FYI, that stuff stays on your hard drive even after you erase it.
It's good to know.
Either of you see my dad?
No.
Probably dead.
What?
His cell phone. I've been trying to call him all morning and it keeps going to voicemail. You guys gotta get him a charger for his office.
So Delinda is playing the role of somebody who is not exactly knowing exactly what's up, but still intricate to the plot. She says that she's moving the VIP Duran show to Mystique. And that makes me think, that's what I was talking about when I said that it makes me think that there's more than one Duran show, that there's a VIP Duran show and a regular Duran show. Because Mystique is a small club, and maybe Duran comes in for that, but if it's a VIP thing, then with the advertising, I don't know. I would think you would do two shows maybe, but one in the actual theater and one in Mystique, but who knows? So Delinda tries to take off.
Hey.
Hit it.
So they keep DeLinda in the dark. Like, it's still a serious situation, but they keep DeLinda not knowing how serious the situation is, at least right now. Now, mind you, they were about to call Jillian earlier, but they don't want, but they're not going to ask DeLinda about it. And I guess the thought process is that Jillian is in New York. There's nothing she can necessarily do from there. She probably doesn't know anything at this point either. So why worry DeLinda? Why try to bring Jillian in and bring someone else alongside panicking like that? But that might come into question a little bit later too.
Why don't you take a little break?
Yeah, that's a good idea. You gotta stretch the legs, wash the face, refocus.
There you go.
You're listening to Rainy Days Don't Get Me Down by Anthony Njoku. If you like what you're hearing, want to hear it again, hear more, or both, just go to tinyurl.com/anjoku. That's tinyurl.com/anjoku. So we return to Ed in this not stripped down, but not complete bathroom. That's probably in a hotel somewhere, but we don't exactly know. Ed is still trying to do the psychobabbles. He's still trying to do the profiler stuff. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But the kidnapper asks if Ed has a daughter.
Listen, you worthless sack of crap. Don't you ever think about
Save the macho garbage for the casino, all right? I have a daughter, too. Mother took her because she said I couldn't provide for her. Haven't seen her in 3 years.
Keep that number in mind. Hadn't seen her in 3 years. That number is important as well. And we hear a little bit more about our boy Brian's plight and how he got here. We hear more humanization of him. He's not just, some rando, crazy guy who just decided to do this out of the spur of the moment. That feeds into the background of Michael Cudlit's character here. And Ed again tries to connect with them, asks what the daughter's name is.
What's her name?
Kiss my ass. That's her name.
What happened to you, man?
Every time when you hear Ed say all these mans and stuff, you could tell that he's in that sort of profiler mode that he was in The Big Bang, if you remember. So Brian, and Ed connect on how it feels to not see your daughter. Brian says that he's just after what he's owed.
Look, I like to think of myself as a stand-up guy, too. So if I've hurt you in any way financially, we'll work it out, man.
You mean it?
Yeah, I do. Look, just let me out of here and we'll call this thing a mulligan.
Spare me the hostage negotiator psycho garbage. It ain't working.
And that's what I was talking about. So remember, Ed was speaking very similarly to this in a couple of different avenues when it came to The Big Bang and Jerry Spires, I think the guy's name was. And and remember, I pointed that out. I'm like, this seems fairly obvious to me, and it seems fairly obvious to Brian too. Even with the misspelled word in receive, and we'll see a little bit more of that later in the episode too. But Brian's not buying this. He bought into the Ed, needing to use the restroom and trying to let him go thing at least a little bit, but he's not now. He's figured that part out for sure, and so he backs away from Ed, and Ed lets him know that his people have strict instructions not to pay ransom.
Because, see, if you pay one douchebag, word gets out, then all the other douchebags, they get cocky.
You know what? You better pray they pay. Because I've had 3 years to think about what I'd do to you if they don't.
Well, then let's pray together, shall we?
Oof, what a line. What a line. So we come back to the casino with Sam and her whales, and Abby is not feeling the experience anymore. She's going back up to get some sleep. Billy is just beside himself. He's not worried about the marriage licenses anymore, even though he said, you know, how big a risk can marriage be? It's, yeah. But he doesn't have the rings. The rings got flown up by Marty as he was coming in to hassle Charlene. So Sam says that she'll get more rings, but that's not what Billy is after. So he places a bet with a stack of cash on the roulette table and loses immediately.
3-carat, D flawless. There you go.
Money plays outside. 28 black.
It's just one bet, Billy.
Yeah, marriage is a bet too. A big one. My luck is in those rings, Sam.
And so Sam has got to find some way to get those rings back. Otherwise, Billy is not going to be happy and probably going to take off. So the Kings are still in Ed's office, and they're still trying to figure stuff out. Mike says he tracked the email to a sign-up sheet in a internet cafe, had it faxed over to them, and at the same time, they see one guy who wrote his name down as Brain.
Only one person rented computer time at the same time the email was sent to you.
So the guy calls himself Brain? What, does he want us to think he's smarter than we are?
I don't know.
And so Mike is going to try to track the handwriting. But remember, keep that in mind. I told you the guy's name is Brian. And he wrote down his name as Brain. Keep that in mind. So Mike suggests maybe just Luis. Not the whole cops, but just Luis. And then the boys have a breakdown in communication and what they think is happening.
Or we could just call Luis. Just Luis.
We talked about this, no cops.
Danny, you're not listening to me.
Look, Mike, I've never had to pull rank before.
Tell me you don't feel this thing getting away from us.
Are you done? Start the database research. I'll be back.
Ed is able to get a hold of his cell phone, but again, there's no battery in it. So how Ed is going to work his cell phone, he doesn't know. Brian comes back with the chocolate, hands it over to Ed, or tosses it over to Ed. And we hear Brian talk about Mystique.
And a Mystique,
Belisara, Jester's Court. I know Montecito from the inside out.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind. We're finding out more and more pieces to this Brian puzzle as the episode continues. He knows the Montecito inside and out. He spelled his name Brain. He misspelled receive. He thinks he's owed $213,000 from the Montecito. He hasn't seen his daughter in 3 years. All these pieces of the puzzle are coming together as the episode progresses. So as we're watching, we see Ed, he does ask about what the bidet is. And we hear Brian talk about how it's a heated bidet. It comes from Korea.
I don't know if I'd want to put my naked behind on that. It's electrical, right?
It's low voltage, dummy. It's perfectly safe.
You heard that. And that is the pieces of Ed putting the pieces together. He figured out that it's voltage, that it's electric, that there's probably some charge to it, and Brian leaves. And as he does, Ed starts to think of a plan. So we're back in Ed's office, and the Kings bring Nessa in to ask about any off-the-books losses of $213,000. Nessa tells them that there's a guy named Stephen Che who lost about that amount at the Montecito some years ago and then welched on the bet. Ed had him 86th, but...
Stephen Che.
Stephen Che. He writes the column for the Las Vegas Mirror, the Sin City Undercover, right?
Yeah, well, Che welched on a big marker last year. Ed had him 86th. Che came back with an offer. He'd keep our high-profile clients out of the paper if Ed worked out a payment plan.
But you know where this guy lives?
Wait, what's with all the questions? Where's Ed?
Where does he live, Nessa?
There's something about this that I do like. Well, there's a couple things. First off, if Che's worked out a payment plan, I don't know that there'd be any reason for him to to try to kidnap Ed, but that's the closest thing that they have to a clue to go off on. Nessa immediately understands that there's something wrong and asks to find out where Ed is, but also understands that the guys are trying to figure some stuff out, so she doesn't push them too hard. She gives them the address, but she will come back into play later in this episode. But they do whoosh around to seeing the guys at the stakeout point. As they do on All Incarnations, we hear What Happens Tomorrow by Duran Duran. That's one of the songs that they did, in fact, license. And we do whoosh past, again, the sign, the real estate sign for Mola Realty. This was the sign that we saw when we got to see the first house that the Lucky Six Limited had bought with Jennifer Moeller. And I'm pretty sure she was a sign designer, production designer for this show. She did some independent work. I'm pretty sure that was her. But anyway, we see the guy staked out in front of the guy's house. The king staked out in front of the guy's house in Danny's car. And we hear the new Duran Duran. And Mike asks, "You going to tell me what happened in high school?" And Danny denies that he's going to and tries to, again, brush it off and get back to the stakeout. But Mike pushes a little bit, and so simultaneously does Delinda with Mary. We finally hear some of the backstory with Derry and what they were going to do and what happened at this Duran Duran concert. We hear that senior year, they get Duran Duran tickets to go see them at the Thomas and Mack Center, and they decided then they were going to have sex for the first time.
As in the big nasty.
Sex, Delinda, yes.
And they had the whole thing planned out.
Juvenile, yet romantic.
Yeah. No, but Danny, right, he's a little nervous beforehand about...
Performance anxiety?
Yes. So before the concert, we break into my father's liquor cabinet.
So I stop at the liquor store and talk some older guy into buying us a bottle of peppermint schnapps.
So there's the first line of demarcation there. There's the first issue. Mary says they broke into her dad's liquor cabinet. Danny says that he paid some guy in front of a liquor store to buy it. Who's telling the truth there? But they agree on the peppermint schnapps part, which is a terrible drink. I don't even know why that was ever created. It's a terrible, terrible drink. Anyway, they sneak the bottle into the concert, and according to Mary...
Danny proceeds to drink the entire thing.
And she drinks the whole thing.
Damn, Mary?
Yeah.
Who's lying there? Which one drank the whole thing? And why? Why would Mary need to drink the whole thing? She's been in love with Danny McCoy since they were kids. The Swings. Remember that? I think it was 4th grade on the Swings. She's been in love with him forever. She's been wanting that forever. Was Danny too nervous?
About 10 minutes into the concert, she blows chunks all over my Air Jordans.
And he hurls all over my white cowboy boots.
Your Jordans?
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
I know.
So, who's telling the truth there? Is it now... Guys, when it comes to Jordans, tend to be very specific. We tend to know which incarnations of the Jordans we have, right? Mary just said white cowboy boots, which kind of is enough of a descriptive. So Danny says he drags her out to the car.
But then I finally dragged her out to the car, and she's all over me.
And he tells me that he loves me.
Talking all this crazy, I love you forever nonsense, and taking her clothes off.
Somehow I dragged him out of there, I got him home, and I put him to bed.
You did?
No, trust me, he woke up in the middle of the night and tried.
No, come on, man, she was wasted.
Whose version of the story do you believe so far? Did Danny drag Mary out, or did Mary drag Danny out somehow? Now, that is the other part of the story, because Danny's a big guy. Even in high school, he was probably not a small guy. You know, he may not have had the muscle mass on him that he has now, but something tells me Danny wasn't exactly a beanpole senior year of high school. And for Mary to have the strength to carry him out would have been interesting. It shows how strong Mary was, right? It's more plausible that Danny was able to carry Mary out, but then you hear bits of the story like in the middle of the night, Danny woke up and tried again, right? Which is it's kind of a juvenile high school kid thing to do, right? Like, oh, let me try to make it better, or let me, or whatever, right? That's kind of a, yeah, right? Who was confessing their love the most? Mary's pretty quick to profess her love. Danny, not so much in the show. Maybe being drunk is what got him to do it. So they say that they never spoke of it again. That's the one thing they come back on and agree to. So that's an interesting weaving of the tale. How they go in and out. Sometimes they differentiate and they come back together. They knew it was Peppermint Schnapps. They differentiate again on who made the move, and they come back together on they never spoke again. Right? That's an interesting way that they decide to tell the tale. But as they finish up the tale, we see the guy coming up to the house, the address that they were given from Nessa, and homeboy jogs into his house, and Danny produces 2 guns and gives one of them to Mike.
Where'd you get these? I'm a Marine. What do you think I got them?
And so the Kings search through the house, and they don't find anything until they come upon a side door there that's closed, and they break it open, and it's the bathroom. And they discover that it's not the guy that they were looking for, and Danny very quickly says, "We were never here." As they leave the scene, they get another call with more money demands. And Danny very quickly tries to ask for proof of life.
Put the money in a black 30-gallon trash bag and wait for further instructions.
Wait. How do we know you're going to let him go? Hey! Son of a...
Well, he doesn't ask for proof of life. He asks, how do they know that you're going to let Ed go? He should ask for proof of life. He's only asked for it once when he said he wants to talk to Ed. And he hasn't asked for proof of life since. He should. Because I think that'll help give him a clue of where he is or something. But he hasn't. He's just kind of gone along with it so far. And that may be a bit of an issue too. We see Ed trying to finagle his belt buckle somehow into, fashion it into almost a screwdriver. And he uses it to try to unhinge the electrical components of the bidet that's right next to him. We then move on to see Sam entering the wedding chapel, and we hear production music on all versions of this. I believe it's production music. I can't trace it. And Sam tries to get Big Elvis to cough up the rings, but he says that he's not going to cough up the rings. Sam says that she'll pay for them, but it's not about money. He won't sell them back just out of spite for Charlene. And he talks about how they've been married for 12 long years and their divorce is coming up next week. And we hear Sam say,
"So, you and little girl Elvis are married?"
Yeah, but our divorce is final next week.
Okay.
6 months ago, she decides to open up a competing chapel just to chap my hide.
So we hear Marnie's story about how Charlene decided to open up her chapel just to spite him. And now he's going back just to spite her, and he's not going to give the rings back.
I need the rings.
Even if I had them, and I'm not saying that I do, there ain't a chance I would give them back. Screw the happy people.
You're still in love with her. Marty, you're not fooling anyone. Just give me the rings.
And it's interesting, again, Sam involved in another love romance storyline here. Keep that in mind. I told you, keep track of Sam in this second season and her arc. She's in another, not even unrequited, but separated romance storyline. Really 2 love storylines between her whale, Billy and Abby, and Charlene and Marty. She's stuck in between those 2 parallel love storylines here in this episode. And she's not the most romantic because, she was on her cell phone during the ceremony, but she's trying to get them back together. Now, mind you, the reasons why she's trying to get them back together are still money. It's still Sam. But she is trying to get these 2 couples to at least talk to each other. And Sam says that she's going to get the rings back one way or the other. And Marty leaves off with the classic line about divorce.
Hey, do you know why divorces are so expensive? Because they're worth it!
We then whoosh down to the other chapel where Charlene is, and as we do, we hear another musical cue. If you're watching on the original version, it's Always on My Mind by Willie Nelson. If you're watching on the DVD version, it's a production song. And if you're watching on the streaming service, it's Darlin' Take Me Back by Guy Fletcher. Darlin' without a G and with an apostrophe right behind the N. And you see more of the expressive side of Lee Allen Baker's acting here as she's trying to put her chapel back together. And you can see she's more caring, she's more sensitive, more emotionally charged than Marty is, where she says she'll pay for the rings, but there's emotional value to them, and that Marty is so stubborn when it comes to anything having to do with her.
Maybe it's because he's still in love with you. You think so? You know when Elvis and Priscilla were Splitsville, never got bitter. Nice. He tell you we're married? Yeah. He said it ain't over yet.
It's cheesy and it's funny, but it's still like her expressive eyes really make that scene work. So we go back again, tonal shift back to the Kings as they are in Ed's office and they can't figure it out. So at this point, they're gonna go ahead and cave in and pay the money.
All right, we pay. Wait. I thought Ed said no ransom. You said it yourself. We're running out of options. Besides, this might give Ed time to do something. I'm calling Nessa.
And so they have clearly tipped Nessa in because Nessa goes ahead and calls a quote-unquote money exchange to try to figure, the money shift so that she can get the $213 from the pit. So as we see that, we see Ed has configured the wire so that he can actually get a charge on his phone, even though there's no battery on it. And he's able to take a picture of his ring and the bidet next to him and sends it to Mike. But he doesn't have a whole lot of time there because Brian comes back, sees what Ed has done, and beats him up again. Looks like with a flashlight this time.
What's going on in here? You son of a bitch. What's this, huh? You think you can get away? You think I'll let you go? You are gonna die in this room.
So we see Nessa in a room with the king, so she clearly knows what they're doing. And count the money out, $213,000 exactly.
$213,000 exactly.
You sure about this? Not at all.
And we cut back to the floor and we see Mary and Delinda tell Sam that her whales have already left the hotel and don't seem to be going to another hotel. They're actually going to the airport. So we whoosh through and we see the guys with the money in their hands. So as the Kings are on their way to take the money, Mike gets the picture from Ed and they go back up to his office and try to figure out exactly what they're looking at. It's clearly Ed's wedding ring.
Come on, Ed. If you can send us a picture, why can't you call us?
Thank you.
Mike is able to track where the cell phone came from, but apparently it's from some hotel room, and there are too many hotel rooms in that area to try to narrow it down to just one that quickly. Sam, though, is on a mission. She immediately rounds up the two Elvi and gets them together and forces them into the car.
You. Get your ass in the car. Hey, jumpsuit, grab the rings.
But,
now!
Yes, ma'am.
As she does, we hear 50s Rock 2 alt mix, in parentheses, by Alan Paul and James Lum, L-U-M. Apparently I got the spelling wrong last time. And Sam is rounding up the Elvi. We then go back and we see the Kings put the word out to their guards to go to every hotel in that area and try to see if they can identify anything in that picture.
We need to know if they can identify anything in this bathroom. The tile, molding, toilet, anything. Ask them, does this exist in your hotel? Go.
As the guards take off, they get another call from Brian, who says exactly where he wants to meet them in 5 minutes and he'll release Ed DeLine. And Danny lets him know that they're out of time. And we see a panning shot up to Danny walking into the parking garage where Brian said he wanted to meet. And we see Birds of Paradise as we do. Is that a reference to Rio? Leaving on the dance floor, y'all. She's a bird of paradise. That a reference to Rio? In the parking lot, we see that Danny sees the trash can where the drop is supposed to be made. Mike is in Danny's car, watching him and the drop, but it's not going to work. So the kidnapper is on a motorcycle, and he revs up behind Danny, grabs the bag, and then drives into the pedestrian area, up some stairs and stuff where there's no way that the car can get to, and they can't chase him. He's long gone.
Forget it, man.
So we come back to the casino, and we whoosh up to the guys in the casino, and they don't know exactly what to do other than to just wait. The Elvi, meanwhile, meet Abby and Billy at the airport as they're about to take off. They're putting their stuff on the conveyor to go through the metal detectors, but they haven't exactly gotten through yet. Big Elvis coughs up the rings finally, and the two of them think that it's a little bit too late. And Sam says,
"We found your rings."
Oh, these are them.
Thanks,
oh
but I think it's a little too late.
Billy, is it ever really too late for true love?
She's about that money. And even Billy, Abby was kind of hip to Sam's game before. Like, she's not about the love at this point. But Billy even gives her a look like, all right, come on, Sam. Anyway, so Billy wants to test his luck. So he asks for a quarter to go ahead and play a slot machine that's near him. That quarter in today's money equals to 41 cents. He takes that quarter and he drops it into the slot machine that's over there by the airport. Yes, there are slot machines at airports, basically almost everywhere in Vegas. And he pulls the slot after kissing the ring, and he wins $10, which in today's money translates to $16.43. So his luck is back. Sam decides that he wants to bring them back to the Montecito, but they decide no, they want to get married right there. And so they start the ceremony, and both Marty and Charlene start off.
Or let's do it here.
Oh,
You guys,
sure.
Scott,
Sure.
you're stuff ready? Okay.
Dearly beloved,
Marty.
Charlene.
Just do the ceremony. Marty and Charlene are a trip. Hold on a second. Let's get a new deck in here, and we'll be right back. Is your ride missing something?
You know, I can do a few things under this hood.
Well,
Give this baby a boost.
Do not
All I'm
go
saying
there,
is,
Mike.
How about a top-to-bottom detail at great prices?
Can you actually do that?
yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
If you're in the LA area, the place to go is Ease Clean Fast Car Wash. Let Eric take care of your car like it was his own.
Welcome to the family.
Schedule an appointment now by going to tinyurl.com/ecleanfast. That's tinyurl.com/ecleanfast. Or text 323-399-3674. That's 323-399-3674. We come back into the hotel room where Ed is being kept, and Brian is ecstatic. He got the money. Ed tells him that you got what you owed, and Brian says that he's not satisfied with it.
Well, you've got what you're owed.
You know, somehow it's not as satisfying as I'd hoped. I think if you died of hypothermia, then I'd feel like we were really even.
You know those are backwards.
No, they're not.
And he starts what looks to be the cold setting.
But you're a dead man.
You coward.
So keep that in mind, too. The backwards faucets and Brian being upset that, no, they're not backwards. So that would mean that he's putting in hot water instead of cold water, maybe. Ed threatens Brian one more time, says, "You're a dead man." And we see...
Goodbye, Ed.
And Ed is knocked out again. All these concussions, all these being knocked out is not good for Ed's brain tissue at all. So the Kings are going over what they have again in Ed's office, and it's been 6 hours and nothing. No phone call, no email, nothing.
We blew it, Danny. We ran this thing ass backwards.
You checked the tile and the moldings, right?
It's all Home Depot stuff, way too common to trace. I've been through it a dozen times.
What about the toilet seat?
What about it? It's a toilet seat.
Dude, just push in on it, please.
Mike is starting to lose it, but Danny kind of hones in on the bidet. And they're able to zoom in and they're able to see the numbers on the bidet. And Danny has a brainstorm. He remembers from doing contracting with his dad, having to install a bidet in somebody's house. And so he doesn't exactly know exactly what it is, but Mike does. And he knows that it's from Korea. And so Mike puts in a call to see if they can trace the bidet back to Las Vegas. Now remember, keep in mind, this is 2004. Built-in bidets, electric heated bidets, were not anywhere near as popular as they are now. As a matter of fact, it's convenient to say they probably got more popular around the pandemic in 2020. They were nowhere near as popular in 2004. Most people didn't know these kinds of things really existed. They certainly weren't that popular here. So the idea that you were able to track down a specific one into Las Vegas isn't necessarily isn't the wildest stretch the show has ever done. So they're able to track it down. Mike calls the number.
Who are you calling? It's the middle of the night.
Manso. 안녕하세요. 영어할 수 있어요? Yeah? Great. I'm calling from Las Vegas, USA. I ordered a clean jet 960 some time ago and I never received it. Can you tell me where you shipped it to? Yeah. That's me. 감사합니다. We got an address. I'll explain to Korean later.
So, between the two of them, they are able to track down into Desert Vistas model units opening soon. We see an opening sign there, and it looks like it's in front of, is that maybe Trump Tower that is over? It's maybe behind the pyramid. I see the pyramid over on the side. So it's over near the pyramid for sure, this high rise that's supposed to go up. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be a hotel that's about to go up on the strip as well. And they're able to see Ed in the tub with the water coming almost up to his chest as he's laying there, certainly knocked out. It's a wonder that he didn't slip and fall further and maybe drown would have been an issue for him as well. But the Kings find him and they save him. He's out of the pool, or he's out of the tub. And we come back into Belisara, and Ed is walking with a cane now in order to help him. But he comes up behind the repairman.
What am I doing here? Mr. Be Right Back? 4 different countries. You know what you said to me? Be right back. Guess what? We got a little back problem here.
We see that Ed and the repairman know each other and are happy to see each other. Friends, maybe some comrades, probably something in Ed's shady CIA past or other military past. But we don't exactly know what the repairman is doing. We just know that it's Sly Stallone sharing a scene with James Caan at the Belisara, and he just says he just happens to be there and wants to check out Ed a little bit. Ed says he's going to put him up in a suite, but the repairman says he just happens to have an opening in his schedule. So if Ed needs anything, to give him a call. And as he takes off, the two, quote-unquote, arm wrestle on the bar, and when he does, we're able to see the tattoo on the wrist.
Hey. Yeah, you are.
Ow.
Oh, come on, old man.
Oh, man, I got you.
Oh, man. Hey, take it easy. Hey, you want me to send you that raw steak? It's a retainer.
So he, as well as Ed, as well as Jack Keller, were in the same group together. That would be an interesting thing to see. The three of them and whoever else they get in that CIA outfit, CIA military, paramilitary outfit. And the Kings pass by the repairman as they come back and hug Ed, who appears to be doing at least a little bit better, even though he's bruised up for sure.
Thanks. Hey, you jerk. Listen, the only real mistake you guys made was to pay that ransom. I mean, you should have known this guy would have never let me go.
Hey, it bought us enough time to figure out that picture you sent us.
So they tracked down that there were over 3,000 people that were fired from the Montecito in the last 3 years. So about 1,000 a year. That's a lot. 1,000 a year, but 3 a day. That's a lot. That's 3 people per day get fired at the Montecito. That's a lot. Delinda comes up to them and sees the bruise, the giant bruise on Ed's head, and asks what happened to him. And he just says, nothing. And she accepts it. She accepts it. And she gets on him for not having a charged cell phone. Of all things is what she gets on him for not having a charged cell phone. And she just accepts that Ed is fine and that nothing happened to him. I would have, okay, I guess. Because the show has to continue. But I'd have thought she'd be a little bit more worried seeing that kind of bruise on Ed. Anyway, so Ed is sitting there and he gets from his private stash there behind the bar. And you see, this is a nice scene here.
Hey, Bobby, you
got it.
Hey.
Long day.
Good luck.
Salute.
And Ed happens to look over behind the bar and see the faucets where the cold is in front of the hot. Like, cold is on the left side, hot is on the right side.
Let me ask you, and hot and cold, the reverse, right?
Yeah. It's been like that since they built this bar 3 years ago. Whoever installed the thing must have put them in backwards.
Yeah, right.
Also, 3 years ago would make sense if Brian knows everybody at the Montecito, but he didn't know that Ed had a daughter, Delinda. That would make sense. Delinda didn't show up until, at this point, 1.5 years before. Makes sense. So, 1.5 years, at this point, it's 2005, 2003, yeah, but almost 2 years, 2.5 years before. Ed considers that, and he thinks, so again, the faucets are backwards. The faucets were backwards in the other room 3 years ago. Okay, Ed is starting to put the pieces together as Delinda introduces Duran. And we hear one of my favorite Duran songs on all incarnations, Reach Up for the Sunrise by Duran. It's one of my favorite songs of theirs because of this episode. It's really because of this episode. But we see the happy couple, Billy and Abby, share champagne with Sam as the Montecito crew is split up. You see Mike and Nessa with Danny on one side of the bar, Delinda and Mary on one of the other side of the bar, and both of them send each other a shot of peppermint schnapps. Danny knocks it back, but can't hold it down. He spits it out. Meanwhile, Mary takes it like a champ. She knocks it back smooth as silk. So again, who do you believe? Because the typical thought process is that if you get so drunk off of a particular alcohol that it comes back out, then your body absolutely rejects it and grows an aversion for it, and you can never drink it again. I've heard that quite a few times. That's never happened to me. I've never drunk to that excess, but I've heard that that's what happens to your body when you drink something like that to that excess. You can never drink it again. And I think that's what they're pointing to here, is that Danny could never drink it again. But I always thought, I'm like, well, it seemed like Mary built up her tolerance because she drank it down like she could drink a whole bottle. But Danny, I think they're going with the general consensus here that once your body drinks to that excess, it can't accept that alcohol anymore. and Danny's can't accept that alcohol anymore. Luckily, Mary didn't see him spit it out, and the two of them decide that the two of them keep dancing along with the music. That we then go up to Ed's office. Ed has the concert on in his office, but he's checking out the clues. He's looking into the list of people that were fired. He narrows it down to plumbers. He sees Brain, and he looks at the list, and he sees Brian Carlton Venturi. And Ed opens up that file. There's no picture. There should be a picture. There's no picture, but we see his position as the plumber and maintenance department. We see his code. A supervisor was Quincy. And we see the reason for his dismissal was continually transpose numbers on order forms, unable to read plumbing schematics and plans. He can't read. He's at least dyslexic. He's got trouble reading, and we've seen that before. Brian, the sides are of the. I guess they're trying to say that the sides of the water are on the wrong side, but even if you can't read, if you're a plumber and you put in stuff like that before, that seems like a slightly odd thing to him that he would the water temperature. You don't see the pattern of just the temperature being on one side versus the other. Like, you just don't, or the colors, because on all these faucets, cold has been blue and hot has been red. Even if you can't read, are you colorblind too? The hot on one side, right? And the cold on the other. Even as a little kid, even when I was a super little kid, the way the faucet in the house I grew up in when I was a super little kid, the way it would sit when it was closed, looked like an eye. So I thought, right, the water was cold and icy, right? But at a certain point, the temperature changes. When you're putting it on, the temperature changes. So worst case scenario, you would switch the faucets, right? Like, why wouldn't you test it out, switch the faucet? Yeah, at a certain point, you have to know one side is hot, one side is cold as an adult. Even if you have trouble reading, but okay, fine. And we see that his employment was terminated January 10th, 2002, which at this point is almost 3 years ago. As of the airing of this episode, Ed kind of figures it out. He looks and he sees his salary is $71,000, which in today's money equals $116,622.86 per year before taxes. So Ed does the quick math. 71,000 times 3 equals $213,000. That's the guy. And we see also that there's no number on file for him, but we have an address. His date of birth is February 20th, 1966. At the time he was married, and he's got a daughter named Michelle, age 9. I'm guessing at the time, so she's probably 12, 3 years later. So looking at this information, we see that they made his character 2 years younger than the actor Michael Cudlitz, but the address that they put on here is also not an existing address. It doesn't exist. But we do see that information, and it's interesting. They didn't work with them on this at all. They didn't try to help him. Maybe he refused help, and we could probably see that when he was like, "No, it's not," meaning that he probably did refuse help in stuff like that. But at a certain point, you figure the most stubborn you can be about something, at a certain point, it's got to knock into your head something like that with the hot and the cold at least. And then we intersperse back into Mystique, where the crew is partying to Duran. Ed barrels through our boy Brian's door and tosses him a club and says, and the two start to fight. And we intersperse that scene with the crew dancing along to Reach Up for the Sunrise. Now, this song is not a song that you would think is like a tough or badass song or anything like that, but transposed against the sight of Ed fighting Brian here, to me it's a badass song. Like, I put it on like my workout mixes, my weight mixes, fight mixes. Like to me, it's a badass song. To me, when I hear this song, I think of Ed fighting Brian, and the two of them fight, and Ed uses the cane that he's got to really do some damage to Brian, who apparently doesn't have much fighting experience. Ed has to toss him the pipe again after he loses it to try to make it a fair fight. Brian takes a swing again, loses it again, and Ed just starts beating the hell out of him with his cane, complete with using the hook of the cane to drag Brian into his elbow to try to knock him out. Now, I noticed this when Ed started walking with the cane in Belisara. The hook part of the cane was especially wide, and I think that was specifically so it'll fit around Michael Cutlet's neck, because most canes don't usually fit around human's neck, especially a guy of Cutlet's size at this point. This fight scene, you just kind of have to watch it. You kind of have to watch it. Let me show it to you. So we come to the end of the fight scene, and Ed has got Brian in a chokehold using the cane for extra leverage and fulcrum. And he looks over on the dresser, and he sees Brian's daughter. So Brian is he's getting choked out. Ed sees the daughter and lets him go. She is cute looking little girl sitting there, probably loves her dad. He definitely loves her. And we see a shot of him on the floor pawing at the money to let us know that Ed didn't kill him. Ed didn't kill him. So we can see that he's still alive. But Ed walks out and it fades to black. Now, we don't know. I don't know if there are cops involved. There's nothing about Luis or Metro coming in or looking the other way or anything like that. Ed just leaves the scene. So, did Ed leave the scene and let the money go? That's $213,000 that's missing from the casino. Did Ed pay it back to the casino? Did he call Metro and track him down or whatever? Did he go after him? He didn't take any money. He didn't take the money back or anything. So where did that leave? What did that leave for that episode? Where did that leave for in terms of the story and Brian and the money? Did Brian get away with it? He tried to kill Ed. He tried to kill him. He left him to die slowly of hypothermia in that tub, knowing that nobody would be back there probably at least for a few days. He probably knew that it might have been a week. It said it was a weekend. So probably for a few days, although you can do construction stuff like that in order to get those high rises up pretty quick. Like the construction's happening pretty regularly. But maybe he knew that there was something, maybe there was a hold up on the development or something that halted maybe he was on that job and he knew that there was a hold up there. And so he decided that while they fixed whatever issues that they had with funding or whatever, with building up that site that caused everybody to leave the site, that he would use that for his plan. But in any event, he's left with the money. He's left alive. Ed walks away. We don't see anything about Metro or any police involvement. He doesn't take the money with him. Where do you think that leaves Brian and the money? Do you think Ed let him keep the money and try to reconcile with his daughter? Do you think that Ed called officials later? Do you think that Ed, just let it go and just chalked it up to the game and paid the money back himself? What do you think Ed did in that situation? What do you think happened after we faded to black? In any event, I heart this episode. I heart this episode so much. I love every bit of this episode. The pacing, the dialogue, the tension. You really felt like Ed was in trouble here, and you could understand how he could be in trouble. He was jumped. He didn't know exactly what was. He didn't see the guy in his Hummer break in, so he didn't have leverage there. He obviously was probably knocked out at a certain point, probably on the presumption of the gun about to shoot him. He probably, who knows exactly how he got knocked out. He kept getting knocked out. He was in a vulnerable position, laying down, handcuffed, couldn't move. When he did finally get a leg up on Brian where he tried to choke him, Brian grabbed the handlebar above him to use to break free. He wasn't even able to break free while he was beating Ed about the ribs, because Ed was still going to hold on. He had to hit him in the head to have Ed loosen one of his arms so that he could get out of it. So it was overall, and then when it became a fairer fight where Ed was standing, though injured, Ed was still able to take care of the guy. So you could, even with that juxtaposition, it makes sense. And then the Duran stuff and the dairy background, hearing more of that story, fleshing that part out. Nessa coming in to help the guys, not asking any questions. She kind of had been run through probably with a scenario similar to this, although she abated them in paying the money. But she, I'm sure Ed told her not to do that either. But she also didn't tell Jillian, didn't tell Delinda. Delinda didn't know what happened to Ed. Nessa kept it to herself. Nessa didn't tell her sister what happened to their dad. That's an interesting point, too. Maybe she was more in on the idea of helping Ed get out of it. 'Cause she also didn't tell Delinda that she was, now mind you, the bomber was sitting right there, but she kept that from the family, at least up till that point. Probably, maybe that was another thing that was talked with Ed with. I love this. The rings, the Elvi were great. Both of them, Joel and Lee Allen, they were both terrific. Like, they both fit so perfectly. They weren't overly cartoonish. They were just perfect. They were right in that spot for the characters they were playing in the episode and the plot line that they had going on. It was perfect. That's why my rating of this episode is unabashedly a 9.9 out of 10. This is a near perfect episode. It is almost, I'll maybe keep it from being perfect because of the couple of continuity errors maybe, but it's near perfect. This is one of my favorite. I have seen this episode over and over and over. I love this episode. This is quintessential Las Vegas. The intrigue, the mystery, the threats, the crime aspect of it, the fun aspect of it, the character development, the character history, the wacky side characters, Vegas being another character in and of itself with the gauntlet of getting married at 4 a.m. and all this other stuff. It was tremendous. It was tremendous. 9.9 out of 10 for me, and my rating ladies and gentlemen, is an A+ if you're marking it down like you would a grade. That's my rating for this episode. What is yours? Yours is the only one that matters. Mine doesn't really matter all that much. It's yours. Yours is the one that matters. Let me know what you think in all the comment sections, in all the group forums, etc., what you think about this episode. I love it. Hopefully you love it as well. Question, did you have a chance to check out the Rumble in the Montecito bonus feature? You should. It's available right now as you're listening to this up on the Patreon. You should be a Patreon member. That way, that's another way that you can help support the channel and the show and help keep it growing. If you're monetarily inclined to do so, That is the best way of doing that here. If you're not monetarily inclined, that's fine. Sharing is probably the most important way of helping the channel grow. Share it with cast members, share it with crew members, share it with friends, share it on all your pages. That's probably the best non-monetarily available way of helping us grow here on the Podecito channel. The next episode, episode 13 of season 2, Sperm Whales and Spearmint Rhinos. That's going to be an interesting one for sure, particularly for Mike. He's definitely in for something. But also Sam's way, again, the trajectory of Sam's whales and their love stories and her love story and all that stuff is going to come back into play next week as well. It's ever continuing for Sam. I told you, keep an eye out for her in this season. And we're about halfway through the season 2 already. What a ride so far. And we're not done yet. We got a lot more to go. So thank you for joining me here on this journey, on this episode, as we went through When You Gotta Go, You Gotta Go, episode 12 of Las Vegas, one of my absolute favorite quintessential Las Vegas episodes. I can't wait to get back together with you next week and talk about episode 13, Sperm Whales and Spearmint Rhinos. In the meantime, the in-between time, please remember the hot faucets on the left, the cold faucets on the right. Also remember to please take care.